Welcome to my show simply entitled Women Influencers, where you will find inspirational stories of successful women in business. I am Veronica Malolas, CCIM, founder and CEO of the Capstrata Group of Companies, providing commercial real estate development, brokerage, and property management services in the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Teri Chilcoat, keynote speaker, author of Surviving the Toxic Workplace, and founder of Inner Authority Co. It was such a great conversation. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast. Hi, Teri. How are you today?
Hi, Veronica. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, no, thank you for being here today. I just can't wait for our audience to hear about your story. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump right in and ask you how
Sure.
you grew up in your environment and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Minnesota and with a single mom, and my sister and I would call it latchkey kids. We took good care of ourselves most of the time, but I know that we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and we had a lot of hand-me-downs and shopped at Kmart once a year for our clothes for school. So I know we didn't have a lot of money and we didn't come from a lot of money. So growing up, I knew that I didn't want to be poor.
Mm.
So that really drove me to work really hard. I started babysitting, I think, when I was like 12 years old, which I don't know why anyone would give their kid to someone's 12 years old. I think about that and I'm like, that's cringy. But I mean, I got my first real job at Baskin Robbins when I was 15 and worked at McDonald's, and then I worked in retail. So I've always been driven to have a job. And even throughout my career, I knew that you should just be happy you have a job.
Yeah.
And going through college, it took me 8 years to finish my degree because I had no direction on really what I wanted as a career, but I knew I didn't want to be broke. So
Mm.
I finally settled on business administration, finished my degree, but then I just kept working. I worked full time through college, and I just happened to fall into HR. I was getting out of sales, and I ended up taking a 2-day assignment at a Time Warner Cable, and it ended up being 2.5 years I was with them. And I started as a recruiter, and it was very similar to sales, and I enjoyed it and moved into an HR journalist role. And here I am 20 years later, still in HR and realizing you can't go through life just being happy that you have a job. And that's when I
Yeah.
discovered that a toxic work environment is something you're willing to accept when you're just happy to have a job.
Wow. That's really it strikes me
Yeah,
because there are, and I totally get what you're saying about, I don't want to be poor and I just want to have a job, and sometimes we get so locked into that mindset that
exactly.
there are other opportunities there. So tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah. So being in HR, I get to see behind the curtain of what goes on with the executives and leadership. And let's just say they don't always match the creed and the goals and mission statements, code of ethics,
Yeah.
all these things, that there's a disconnect between what's written in the handbook or put on the wall and the company culture. And I realized one time I was literally just staring up the ceiling one night, looking at the cracks in the tile, thinking there has to be something more, because I realized being in HR, not only have I been subjected to a toxic work environment, I realized I am part of that problem too because of the way the culture is created.
Ah,
So I realized that I got to a point where like, I'm going to quit and write this book because I have to find a way to show others that there is a way to move past whatever environment you're in when you don't have any resources, that you can still feel empowered and have some ownership or agency of what's going on in your life instead of feeling like you're a victim or just stuck.
yeah.
So that was one reason that really spawned me to write this. Is I've been in HR and I've been in those situations and I don't even have resources. So I know there's millions of people that probably feel the same way and have no desire to trust HR, let alone go to them and give them what's happening to them.
No, absolutely. Totally agree. Especially because I know that to be in human resources, right? Your guidelines are so very stricken by the book. And so, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Even you in HR, you really didn't even
Mhm.
realize it. But let me ask you, how long were you with Time Warner?
I was with them for 2.5 years. They
Okay.
merged. I was here in Texas. They merged with the Louisville, and then there's another South group. So they ended up consolidating. This is when they really started consolidating their groups. And then
Yeah.
I moved on to another company, an interactive advertising company, and it was a great experience to learn through that a large organization, unions, and how that the organization runs and all of that. It was a great experience. But one of the biggest challenges of being in HR is you are beholden to whatever the leadership team is willing and not willing to put up with.
Yeah.
So they can completely disregard the employee handbook if they choose that's not something they want to follow.
Yeah.
So I have to take my guidance from them. I can give them this is my recommendation. However, if you choose to take on the risk or the liability of wanting to terminate somebody without cause, then this might be the consequences.
Yeah.
So it's a very fine line you walk as an HR professional, trying to do the right thing by the employee, but then also do the right thing by the organization.
Yeah, and let me ask you, how different was it working with creatives, right? Because they're
Yeah.
advertising agency, totally
Yeah.
different culture, they're
Yeah.
creatives versus, and I don't even know, maybe Time Warner was more sales, or
Yeah, it's very, very structured.
yeah,
I would say so. One sales organization I work for, which I write in my book, we were encouraged, I would use that loosely, to write bogus orders for anything less than $500 because it was expected no matter what, you would write $500 for your customer. And I asked my manager, well, I don't have $500. They just ordered like a week ago and they don't have enough. They haven't sold it. She said,
yeah,
just write it up and then cancel it before it ships. And
huh,
I said, I was like, you got to be kidding me. That's not ethical. She goes,
right,
that's what we do. And I said, okay. And I literally quit after 4 months. I said, I'm not going to work like this.
yeah,
But
yeah,
for the creatives, I would say we had less employee relations issues, more of like I would say not culture change difficulty, but I would say creative conflict. Like creative
mhm,
people have very different ways of getting into their environment and how they operate, and it might not work the same for your coworker. So very different nuance for how you operate in that environment. It was a lot of fun working with them, but it was some of the creative things that they got mad about was kind of funny.
yeah. I mean, I can just imagine. I mean, and creatives are quite competitive too.
Yes,
So
they are.
I
Yes.
bet that also played a part in kind of the culture, the development of the
Yeah.
culture of that company.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, so very interesting. So, what do you do now? You're still in HR.
I am. I'm still in HR, but as an author, I also do keynote speaking. A lot of the SHRM chapters, local chapters in Dallas and surrounding areas in Texas. I also have a workshop. It's attention to retention, helping organizations retain and re-engage their employees, which really ties back into the book is helping leaders through self-awareness to realize when people start disconnecting because I think a lot of people don't realize, like you mentioned, that this environment is toxic. And I think leaders don't necessarily intentionally create that. I think it's just a lack of training and a lack of self awareness.
Yeah, and maybe perhaps sometimes leaders are so focused on what they're doing that they forget that
Exactly.
they're leading a team, right, or a culture.
100%.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, but it does happen in many organizations. And you talk a lot about missions and visions and all that.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest challenge of any organization is operationalizing an idea, right? So
Yes.
they might
Yes.
say we want to have a very diverse and friendly and
Yeah.
loving environment, but it doesn't necessarily translate to what they do. So
Hmm.
totally get that. Totally get that. Well. I wanted to ask you, Terry,
Mhm.
if there was one challenge that comes to mind that you overcame that you're most proud of, what would that be?
Yeah. Very interesting. I learned at a very early age. I was working in retail when I was in high school, and I was working. Actually, I was out of high school. I was working full time, going to school in nights and weekends at a junior college, and I wanted to be the assistant manager, and there was a position open. And the manager of the store ended up giving it to somebody else.
Huh,
And I was shocked. I'm like, I can't believe you're not giving me this. I deserve it. Like, I'm full time. I've been here a certain period of time. This person's only part time. Why would you not give it to me? So I went up to her and I asked her, I said, why didn't I get that promotion? And she said, you didn't ask for it.
huh.
And I was like, oh, yeah. So that was one of the most valuable lessons I learned from a career standpoint. If there's something that you want, you need to let others know what you want, good or bad. And if someone is not going to give you something, then you need to find out how do you go about getting it something in another way. So if that promotion is not for you, then find another way to make yourself valuable or improve on your skill sets or, take some more classes. But it was a very valuable lesson.
No, absolutely, totally agree. I mean, a lot of people assume
Yes,
that the other
yes,
people know what you're thinking, right?
exactly. And
And
what you want.
yeah, and I always teach my kids the power of asking, right?
Yes,
And also socializing the idea. Because start
yes,
mentioning it to people soon enough, people are going to kind of cling to that idea, and it just comes to life. So
yes.
so yeah, I mean, totally. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that probably heard this and say, "Oh, yeah, well, that's a really great." So let's talk about influence, Terry. So
Okay.
you're a keynote speaker, you're an author,
Hmm.
and by the way, great book.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. I
And you
appreciate
can
that.
talk about that book also at this point, and how it's influenced
Hmm.
many organizations, perhaps. So tell us about
Hmm.
how you have had some influence on an environment or an organization of
Yeah.
what we do.
I've always enjoyed one part of the HR is working with managers because they are really struggling. Most of them end up being promoted without any training when it
Yeah,
comes to managing people. We are so great at putting the best person that was in sales or the best person in that role and then move them into a management role. And we notoriously set them up for failure because we don't talk about the challenges of managing
yeah,
people.
yeah,
So in this book, I talk a lot about how the awareness of how you come across and how you're perceiving others is key to that communication and being a great manager. And that's the first thing I talk about, no matter what, is recognizing your own environment, but also recognizing how you're impacting others around you. And that
yeah.
can be a really hard pill to swallow if you haven't done a lot of self-reflection or taken a account for how am I coming across, my body language, my voice, the tone, like how am I being perceived by others? And if you're really insecure and don't want to know, then it can be a very big challenge.
And what is the name of your book?
Oh, I'm sorry. The name of the book is Surviving a Toxic Workplace from an HR Insider, a guide to power, peace, and happiness.
Oh, I love that. And by the way, thank you for sending me the book. I
No, I'm
really
glad you
enjoyed
enjoyed it.
reading that. You know, a lot of people don't even realize they're in a toxic environment. And
Yes.
same thing with any relationship, right? There are a lot of marriages like that. Like you don't even realize
Yes.
that you're in one of those. So you do talk
Hmm.
about self-awareness. You talk
Hmm.
about being a little bit more self like aware of what's going
Hmm.
on. And I absolutely
Yeah.
just love that. So Terry, if
Hmm.
there was one piece of advice that you could give to our audience today, what would that be?
If you're feeling stuck right now, that it's only temporary and that you can get through this. And I think that's where a lot of people end up feeling hopeless over time is that they don't know what to do or have the resources. And that's another reason why I wrote this book is to give people resources to be able to move forward at least one step at a time, to at least give them some agency and ownership of what's happening. Because regardless of what you're going through, you can still find something that you own and that you are in charge of. even if
Yeah.
it's deciding how you react.
Oh,
That
yeah.
can be just the beginning.
No, no, absolutely. I really just I think there are a lot of people that feel lost.
100%.
And as a matter of fact, I just came off of an interview with someone who said that she really just wanted to belong,
Yes.
and that she
100. Hmm.
didn't even realize that belonging is not everything,
Yeah.
because you could be in a toxic community
Yes. You
and
can
not
settle
even know.
for, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a very good point. Yeah.
yeah, because if we're not even aware that we're in that, that's the part of the book that I really loved,
Yeah.
Terry.
Hmm.
And I love that it's from an HR perspective,
Yep.
because obviously, you've been in so many of these organizations around
I
these
have. Yes.
in different like ladders of leadership, employer,
Yeah.
employee, manager,
Hmm.
C-suite, with their other organizations that are underneath them. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty fantastic. So I appreciate that. So Terry, we've come to the part of our interview where
Yeah.
get to ask me a question. So go ahead, please.
So, being that you're a person that had never had read my book until I gave it to you, what was your like a really aha moment or takeaway that you got from the book?
And thank you for that question. I love that question, because the one thing that struck me was really, as I just mentioned, is
Hmm.
that a lot of people don't even realize they're in certain kind of situations until
Yes.
it's too late,
Yes.
right? So when I think about someone who's in a toxic environment at work, who really felt stuck
Yeah.
because of many reasons. I mean, some people
Yeah.
just stay because they have to. They wanna hold
You're
on to
so
their
right.
job. Maybe
Hmm.
they've been in there for 30 plus years and they just won't give up their
Yeah.
pension, and they need to get vested, and they're already at that, and a relative actually comes to mind.
Yeah.
I remember when we were really she was struggling, and we were trying to support her with conversations like these, right? But at the end of the day, it was her decision to stay or not stay.
Yeah.
You said and mentioned, it's how you actually react in that
Hmm.
environment and how you deal with it and have sanity. I mean,
Yes.
I remember when she was so stressed, she lost a lot of sleep. She
Yes.
did not look forward to going to work. And yet, in the back of her mind, she's thinking, no, but I have to go to work, and I
Yes.
have to. And she was really like focused on even succeeding more and putting more effort in, because she did not want to get fired,
Yes.
because the toxic environment actually came from superiors.
Yes.
It's
Hmm.
so common though, right?
Yes, unfortunately, it is. It's one of those things. I mean, if you think about the amount of time that we spend at work and the influence our manager, our direct manager has on our lives is so paramount to if someone succeeds or fails within an organization.
No, absolutely. And also that dynamic of power,
Yes,
because you feel like you have to do certain things because of the other motivations that are behind the decisions that you make. I mean, it's not easy,
100%.
especially if
Yeah.
you're a single mom, or
Hmm.
you've been in your job 30 plus years and you're
Yeah.
about to retire. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah. And
I
that's why I wrote like the steps inside the book as a guide to help ask those questions is start asking yourself like what can I do and how do I walk through this? Because the ultimate goal is to have somebody feel like I'm going to put together a plan. If it's to start a side hustle, if it's to find something that's a hobby I can do to distract me from this, or maybe it's to really look for something new
yeah,
outside of what I'm doing, but come from a place of a calm, rational mind
yeah.
instead of doing some knee jerk reaction, just quitting one day. And then you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh, dear God, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Like, be able to make a rational, calm decision.
No, no, absolutely. And I love that. So Terry, if someone or a few people that are listening in right now want to connect with you or buy your
Mhm.
book, tell us how we do that.
Sure. I can be found on most social media platforms, especially LinkedIn, Terry Chilcoat, Chilcoat. LinkedIn, and I mean, Instagram and Facebook is just T Chilcoat. And then you can buy my book at Amazon and barnesandnoble.com and Balboa Press.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love it. And I love it when I get to interview people from an industry that is so different from mine. And that the perspective of HR, I mean, come on, it's human resources, right? It's about
Yes.
people. And of course not just people, but what they experience, right? And the governance of that. I mean, there are ideas and missions and visions that that
Yes.
have to be aligned, and so I do appreciate the time that you've spent with me today, Terry, and
No,
for
it's been a pleasure, Veronica, to be able to walk through this and help others. If I can just help one person understand that they're not alone in this journey and that you do have options and you don't have to feel stuck.
yeah. So to those of you who was touched by this and perhaps you're wondering what else you can do because you're in that situation,
Yeah.
talk to Terry. I think this is
Yeah.
going to be a good
Thank
thing.
you so much. I appreciate
No,
it.
thank you, Terry. This was wonderful. I really enjoyed this so much.